Hi, I'm Roger. Welcome back to my channel. As usual, I want to thank those persons who recently subscribed to my channel. Really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on board. Now, let me just say that in the video today, I'm going to be looking at the components of a computer system. And this video is particularly targeting those persons who are doing some basic computer course, which requires that you know this information. And these will be persons, for instance, those doing a computer repair course such as A+ certification, or here in Jamaica we have the HART NTA computer / system administration courses, targeting you also. And also, you know, if you're at a high school, primary school, and you're required to know, you know, basic information about computers, this is for you also. All right. So, having said that, let me also mention that what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to just give an overview of the 5 components, and then we're going to look at these different parts here. All right. All right. So let's jump into the video. So, let me start with input devices. Input devices, as the name suggests, these are devices that are used to input data into the computer system, into the device. All right. So we need to get data into a computer system, into a device. How do we do so? It has to be done via some device. Notice too that there are different categories. There are different types of data. So we have data in the form of sound. All right. And so we have to have input devices which are able to capture sounds and input them into the respective device. Right? Similarly, we need to capture an image, and similarly, there are input devices which will do just that. Or if it is to get text into the device, there also are those devices which do that. All right, so that is what I mentioned about the different types of data. So for each different type of data, we have to have the respective the respective categories of input devices which will capture that data and be able to enter it into the computer system or whatever device it is. All right. So right now I'm using a lapel mic. Where is it? Right here. All right. Gone all the way around here. And that is what is capturing my voice and inputting it into what I'm using to record for the video. All right. Next, we have the processor, and the processor is the brain of the device. That is what does all of the processing. So it does things like mathematical calculations. It does logical operations such as reasoning, making comparisons, and so forth. And then we also have memory, and there are different types of memory. There are volatile memory and non-volatile memory. So we have volatile memory would be RAM, and this is really what is applicable here now. So RAM, which stands for random access memory, is a crucial component in any device, any computerized device, and it works very closely with the processor. Right? So much that in many situations you find that when you look at the computer architecture, many persons just regard them as one unit as opposed to two. All right. So that is RAM, and basically what RAM does is it really essentially is like a work area. So picture, for instance, this desk here being a work area, and so whatever it is that I am doing on the desk will be whatever work that I'm doing will be facilitated by the table. All right, and of course the size of the table will determine the amount of things that I can have on the table. The size of the table will also determine the extent to which I'll be able to work efficiently. Because if it is a small table, relatively small table, and if I were to have a lot of stuff on it, it would make it congested, and it would be slower. It would cause me essentially to be working slower. All right, so that is RAM, random access memory. So it stores data temporarily, hence it being volatile. All right, And that is really a limitation of it. The fact that it stores data, it is only able to store data for a short time, and that time span is defined by the presence of electricity. So it is only able to store data while electricity is being supplied to the device. All right. Another thing too is that, as I mentioned, with the processor, it stores data that is to be processed, and also after processing takes place, data is transferred from the processor back into RAM. All right. So that is the processor, input devices, and the memory. Next, the secondary storage devices. And secondary storage devices are essentially our backup. So remember when I spoke about RAM, I mentioned that in nature, it only stores data temporarily, right? And this is a limitation. It has a capacity to only store data temporarily for a short period of time. So for instance, using a desktop, for instance, the electricity supply goes out, that system is going to be shut down. It's going to shut down immediately, and this is presuming that you do not have it connected to a UPS, a battery backup. All right. So because memory, RAM here, random access memory, because it has that limitation, it is volatile, and also it is limited in terms of size. There is no the need to have some other type of storage which will be able to store data permanently and also be able to store a larger amount of data. Hence, yes, secondary storage devices. And one typical one is the hard drive. All right, so I'm going to come a bit more to that. I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that when I get into looking at what's inside the system unit. All right, and then finally now we have output devices. So whatever goes in, let's just say, must come out. So we have, for instance, well, look at it this way. Right now you're watching this video, you're viewing it on some device, probably a laptop or a desktop or your smartphone. The screen on your device that you're viewing it on is an example of an output device. All right, so it is the output device which enables us to view or to access the processed information. You are also hearing what I'm saying via the speaker or speakers on the device that you're using, and that too would be an example of an output device. Okay, so that is the introduction to the video. Now we're going to get our hands dirty in the other part of second half of the video. All right, earlier I mentioned input device. This is an example of an input device, the most basic input device there is. This is a keyboard. Now you'll find a keyboard on those larger systems. If you look at a supercomputer, mainframe computer, desktop computers, also on a laptop, you'll find that there will be a keyboard. All right, of course, like on a laptop, it is referred to as a keypad. All right, but it does basically the same thing. All right. So this is your keyboard, and this is the most common thing input device into a computer system. Let me also mention that on your portable device, such as your smartphone and a tablet, they also have a keyboard or keypad, but it is virtual. All right, and of course there is the mouse, and there are also a whole lot of other input devices. I mentioned microphone earlier, also. All right. No, this thing here now. What is this thing you remember wondering? Now this is a printed circuit board, and in the computing world we refer to it as motherboard or main board. And if you look in this system here, the system unit, you'll notice that you have all of these different components that are actually connected to the motherboard. So it's really integral to the operations of the computer system. Next, earlier I mentioned the processor. So this is what the processor looks like. Well, this is a type of processor. This one is from Intel, and Intel does make different types of processors. So you have the Celeron, which is on the very low end. There's also Pentium, also very well low and outdated now. There's also the Intel Core i3, Core i5, Core i7, Core i9 processors. All right, so this is the processor, and this is comparable to our brains. So this is what does all the processing in the computer system. All right, now the processor on the motherboard. So this is the processor here on the motherboard, and the processor is housed in this area here, which is the socket, the processor socket. Right, and it fits in a particular way. It can only fit in one direction, one orientation. Clamp that down to keep it in place. And then now this now is the heat sink, heat sink and the fan, and this is attached to here. It is attached to the main board, and the fins, which are metal, they're responsible for capturing the heat from the processor, and then the fan now will dissipate that. All right, it also helps to keep it cool, right, the fan. All right, so that is the processor. That is what it looks like. All right, next, I mentioned memory, and this now is your random access memory. So this is what it looks like. All right, and there are different types of memory, as it is now for desktop computers and laptops. We are where we are now, DDR4. Yeah, looking to transition to DDR5, and prior to that we would have had DDR3, DDR2, DDR, right, just to name a few. So this memory is for a desktop. Now I'm looking for the memory for a laptop. Just give me a second, let me locate one. Okay, so here it is. This is the memory that goes into a laptop. And remember the two functions of the memory. One is that it stores data that is to be processed by the processor, and also after the processor is finished processing the data, the result is placed back in RAM. So these here are those RAM modules. And RAM is volatile, which means that the system will only store whatever is in RAM while it is on. All right, so this one is for a desktop, as you would have seen here, and then this one is for a laptop. Okay. All right. Then we have secondary storage devices, and these are what you're looking at here. These are hard drives. All right. So this is your hard drive. Well, actually, hard disk drive. So that is the technical name, hard disk drive. All right. So the entire mechanism is referred to a hard disk drive, and there are different types of these. So we have SATA, which is this one here. Prior to this, we would have had the IDE hard drive. When you talk about SATA and IDE, it is really referring to the type of connection. All right, so this is your SATA cable. This is what supplies, well, enables data rather to be transferred between the motherboard and the hard drive, right, hard disk drive. So whenever you save anything to your desktop computer, for instance, or to your laptop, this is where to store to, right? And presuming that you don't have a thumb drive on the device that the data goes to when you're saving, right? Other than that, this is where to be stored, to the hard drive. And there are different types of hard drives. All right. So the hard drive is an example of a secondary storage device. And of course you have other things, you know, such as a thumb drive, memory card. Try to find one here. Okay, my kit here. So memory card. Well, this is an adapter, but I guess you have guess you have an idea as to what the memory card looks like. All right. And again, there are a whole host of other types of secondary storage devices. All right, coming down to the end. So the last component is, what is the last component? Output device. And there you have one. So this is the screen of a laptop. So this would be an example of an output device. Also, right now you're hearing me on or through your speakers, the speakers on your device. See, speakers there also would be an example of an output device. All right, speaker, headset. You know, all of these are examples of output devices. And as I said, you know, the list is not exhausted. You know, there are so many other types of output devices. All right. So that's it, looking at the components of a computer system. I hope you got value from this video. And as such, I'd really appreciate if you go ahead and hit that like button. As a matter of fact, smash that like button. And also please remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so, and to also hit the notification bell so that when I upload a new video, you'll be automatically notified. Remember also to share the videos that others can benefit from the contents also. All right, until next time, take care. I'm Roger.